I asked the gentleman where the keys were, and he says, she brought the keys home. They're in her sweatpants, but they're out in the driveway, and they smell like death. We got a call for a Jeep that not only was stuck, but it was also missing. Somewhere in the Sunrise Mountain area east of Las Vegas. And the husband, who wasn't involved with losing the Jeep or anything, was the one that was communicating with us. And he told me that his wife had gone out there driving and she got stuck, and she was out there for at least 2 days before she finally walked out and was rescued. And she was currently in the hospital getting checked out. So that's when I got the phone call. I asked the gentleman where the keys were, and he says, she brought the keys home. They're in her sweatpants, but they're out in the driveway, and they smell like death. And I'm like, oh, you can keep the keys. We'll get it out without the keys. So he sent me 2 pins that were on this radio tower road, and I called the authorities that control that and asked them if we can figure out a way through, can we explore on this road? And they gave us their blessing. And there were places where the cable was cut, a mile from where the road was. We got in there and got in this wash, and people had just been using this wash as a dumping ground. So we actually had to clear debris to get our rigs through there and get them up on the road. So at this point, the only real clue that's making any sense is that her husband says that she was trying to drive to the communication towers. And there's these radio towers on the top of this, Mount Crumpet. And so we start to drive up this thing, and it's like this. If you're familiar with Black Bear Pass, this is worse than Black Bear Pass. It's loose, it's steep, there are wrecked cars down in the bottom of this ravine, and it goes up to switchbacks just up the side of this mountain, heading up to these radio towers up there. And that's when we realized there's no way that her stock compass is making it up this road, and she just can't be here. And meanwhile, a storm comes in, one of those little cells that comes in. And as we're turning the Jeep around, this little storm cell comes in. We have to take the drone down. The wind's blowing, it's raining. We're on very unstable ground. There's not a great place to turn around. And we just know that this isn't where she's at. So we went back down to the bottom, waited for the storm to pass. And that's when I got a text from my buddy with Snore. It's an volunteer off-road recovery group that works with search and rescue. And he tells me that he can get a helicopter, if the weather will permit, to help search for this vehicle. There's lots of reasons for having to recover vehicles, even if they're total losses. If they're on public land, whoever is over that is going to have rules on littering and what you can leave there. And so we get that question a lot. Why are we recovering total wrecks? It's because the owners will get fined for leaving it there. The need to get this out of the situation, there's several, things pushing that. And it's considered a low priority, what we were doing. So they would fly a helicopter in this weather to save a life, but they're not going to fly it to find a missing Jeep. And it actually never came to fruition. The weather never got good enough where they could fly it. And I think they had another emergency they went to. I don't know. Whatever. The helicopter never showed up. So at this point, I decided to call the husband again, ask him more specifically where this is, see if he has any ideas where it could be. And I could hear his wife in the background. So she had made it back from the hospital from being checked out. And so I talked to her and I said, okay, you drove up Lake Mead Boulevard. And she says, no, I drove Hollywood Boulevard. And I'm like, oh, your husband told me Lake Mead Boulevard. And she turned to him and you could hear her she's like, why did you tell him Lake Mead Boulevard? And he's like, I thought that's where you went. I don't know. I wasn't sure. So we know we're looking in the wrong spot. So I asked her to send me a pin of where she thinks it is. And I asked her several other questions and she gave me some clues. And these are the clues we have at this point. She was a 30-minute walk from a communications tower where she could see lights of some city. She's lit bushes on fire when she walked out every 20 feet. There's 2 washes. She's in the second wash, high-centered on her rocker. It's a very specific clue that didn't help us at all. She sent us another pin, which was about 20 miles from the first pins that her husband had sent her. So we headed down there, and we've got the drone. We're putting the drone up and looking. And as we're driving, I realized that this pin can't be it because she would have been able to see the entirety of Las Vegas. So I call her back. And by this time, we are 5 hours into this search. We have been looking really hard for this. I call her back and I say, this can't be right. And I'm talking to her, and she's telling me that she went on Hollywood Boulevard, and she says she drove past the wastelands, which I don't know exactly what that meant. And she turned left, and there was some wood, and there was a sign. And we've seen, like, every clue that she was giving us like that was the beginning of every road that we had driven on that day. Every road you're on, it says road to Sunrise Mountain. So, like, this area, this road says to Sunrise, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. That wasn't very helpful. But then I heard her husband, I heard the light bulb go off in his head. And he said, "What about the guy that picked you up? He would know where he picked you up." And I said, "Bingo. Call that guy. Call him and see if he can send us a pin." And it wasn't 10 minutes later, I had a pin. And it was 20 miles away from where we were. So we drove over there and started looking for it. We knew exactly where he picked her up. And she couldn't tell me how long she had walked. But she said there was a trail of burned bushes from the Jeep to the... So if we find a burned bush, we can find the Jeep. We're making the loop on the road where he dropped the pin, and then we get to the big power lines, the huge ones. And we're driving down the power line road, and some of these power lines are like up on hills and stuff, so there's an offshoot to the main power line road to go up there. So we just start hitting every single one of those. We put a drone in the air, and I'm searching one road, and my kids and Colby, my camera guy, he's with them searching this other road. All of a sudden, we get a phone call. "Hey, we found it." So I turn around and head up there. I'm in my big wrecker, and my kids are in the Jeep. And sure enough, we see it. And oddly enough, some of her clues made sense because there was one wash and then another wash, and that's the one she was stuck in. So the two washes made sense. She was stuck high-centered on her rocker panel, and she had a dog leash around the rock trying to pull it out. The hatch of the Jeep was up. There was like towels and stuff hung in the windows, but we didn't have any keys. The battery was completely dead. Luckily, it didn't have a locking steering wheel, so we were able to get it out of there. But what was interesting, and we realized, the power lines is what she was calling communications towers. And these are high tension, like high voltage, big old lines. And something that's interesting is these power lines go north. Her Jeep's parked underneath these power lines. That would have been great to know that she was under power lines. These power lines go north, and our tow rig is parked under the power lines at the staging area, not 5 miles away from where we were. And there's a straight power line road from the Jeep to where we were parked. We found it. We got it out of there. We got it back to them safely. And it was a 7-hour. It was 7 hours to find this Jeep. And she told me that she had bought the Jeep and she wanted to go out and try wheeling because she'd seen it and thought it would be fun. And so she didn't realize that the Compass isn't that kind of a Jeep. So she was in way over her head and didn't have the skills to solve the problem when she got stuck. But she did. The bushes were burned. It's lucky the vegetation's so sparse there because some of the bushes were just like a 2-foot circle burn, but some of them were a 10-foot circle burn. So she was accurate on everything except for calling the power lines communication lines. And it's confusing because there's radio towers on every point all around there. And so communication towers to me would be radio towers, and communication towers are interchangeable, but power lines is not for me. But yeah, we got that one solved, and it all ended well, but it was a long day, and that's the largest area I have ever searched for a missing vehicle.
Have you ever gotten an automated speeding ticket either from a fixed position camera or a school zone? In the US, that's less common than it is in Europe, and most of the time when you get the notification, they'll tell you that it's just about the payment, that they're not going to report anything. As long as you pay your speeding ticket, you won't have any points on your license or any additional risks. But did you know that those are some of the easiest tickets of all to fight and beat, especially with a partner like the Ticket Clinic? In Florida so far, they are 500-0. They've never lost fighting one of these tickets. So not only can they get them totally thrown out, but they can save you a ton of money. So check them out now at the link in the description below. You can actually just take a picture of your ticket, no matter when it comes in the mail or how you're issued a ticket, and text that picture to 305-305, and that'll get them on the case immediately. They'll let you know exactly what the proper course of action is and what their strategies are for every local municipality or jurisdiction to get your ticket dealt with. And of course, for regular tickets, for speeding tickets and things like that, the Ticket Clinic is your perfect partner to fight every one. They'll help you avoid costly fines, risk of license suspension, points on your license, jail time, higher insurance premiums, all the bad things that come with getting a bad ticket. The Ticket Clinic can help. They've got a nationwide network of attorneys that can help you find the perfect local partner that knows your area, knows your county, knows everything about it, and can help you fight your ticket and achieve the best possible outcome. So check them out now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.